Oh, even Pascal, even van... Weet je dat? Als we dit hadden verwacht, dat...
Ja, ik zal het niet doen.
Grote opkomst, denk ik zo, als ik het zo zie. Ja.
En hebben we 5 minuten langer en 5 minuten langer.
Gewoon even rustig eroverheen vertellen, kijken wat ze ervan vinden. Dat is denk ik wel leuk om wat meer in te maken. Misschien dat jij even achterin een beetje met de microfoon staat. Of dat je hem even aan je Jur of het even geeft dat zij ook een microfoon hebben,
Ja.
dat je het gelijk
We
hoort.
hebben hier 1 microfoon. Hebben we het meerdere?
2 als het goed is. Dit is die andere ding. Voor mij zijn... Nee, deze is niet aansluiten.
Dat is een mooie tijd. Ik bedoel, naar de tijd is net 12:30.
Ja, we zijn mooi op tijd.
Ja. Ik heb mijn jas hier over. Is dat erg? Ja.
Nou, het is niet nodig om niet droog in elkaar te zetten, hè?
Zo kan het mooi, ja. Nou, even kijken of het net zo kan. Mijn mentor. Mijn mentor doet natuurlijk redelijk vaak, maar dan niet per definitie richting studenten, maar in algemene zin. En daarbij, men kent mij hier niet.
Dus
vaak.
gewoon je verhaal doen en zien wat het wordt. Ik zal mijn mobiel even uitzetten. Ik vind dat een of andere iemand...
Veel dan ik. Lul.
Stuur maar de volgende keer bij jou.
Succes.
Moet wel lukken.
Ja. Aan de andere kant, dat je stil is en iemand vragen, zal die micro zijn. Ja, valt mij mee. Volgens mij zijn er nog minder dan 75.
Kijk, het zijn 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 stoelen per rij. Ja, sommige minder. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Ja, ik denk rond de 80 stoelen zijn er. Ik vind die avond nog wel redelijk. Dus 's ochtends toen wij hier rond een uurtje of 10 aankwamen, was het echt gewoon muisstil hier.
Maar ze student. Hè? mooi maar nou.
Yeah.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Great. Well, thank you everyone for being here during this, well, at least dry afternoon, which is certainly something for the Netherlands. Glad everybody could make it. Glad to see you all come here in such great amounts. Today, we would like to tell you something about our company, Geveladvies. We would like to take you through a project which we have been working on for multiple years right now. And I'd like to do that together with my colleague, Mr. Zalmhaventoren. My name is, well, in this case, Saga. Geveladvies stands for Facade Consulting and Engineering. And like mentioned on the first slide, sustainability and visions, which is kind of a dual vision for our company. One of the things is actually sustainability and visions for the built environment, as in our vision about how the future of the current built environment, of what the future of the current built environment should look like, in combination with the sustainable growth of our company as a whole in order to increase our impact in a very positive manner. Yeah. Okay. Oh. Well, like I mentioned, I would like to do this together today with my colleague, Mr. Zalmhaventoren. My name is Saga van der Wal. Well, some maybe relevant aspects on the screen right now. My main focus is on, well, in this case, sustainable growth of our company in the broadest sense of the word, along with implementing the ISO 9001 in relation to quality management, the ISO 14001 in relation to environmental management, different norms, either it be on a construction term, on a technical term, or whatever related, as well as implement quality guidelines in regard to appliances we use, in regard to reports that we are writing.
Yes. Hi. I also welcome you guys to join us at the presentation. I will tell a little bit about my background. I started at TU Delft, so at the concurrent university in Delft. So I started in 2009 at Vertigo Delft, and I did my master in 2 years, and I specialized in building technology, which is more a specific part to the facade and stuff like that. And how I came here is I started at an internship at a façade manufacturer, which I did for my graduation. And after half year finishing my master, I actually worked there for 4 years as different kinds of roles like engineer, RD, and quality manager. And in 2019, I stepped to Geveladvies, where I used my knowledge during the 4 years I made in the facade manufacturer. And what I do now at Geveladvies is we give advice to external companies, as you can read, where we do solving issues related to the facade, assist in program of requirements, which I think you also have a lot done with, and writing a lot of reports. So that's I think the more not funny thing to do at my job. And the other thing I do is I'm technical advisor in big projects for the same facade company, which is projects like ASML. I think you guys know it, for the chip making, Tripolis in Amsterdam, and the same for Rai Hotel. And of course, Zalmhaventoren, which we are going to talk a little bit more later on. I will give you back to Saga.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Tufan. Well, in this case, what do? We do quite a variety of things. We specialize in everything that has to do with facade, it either being on a technical perspective, it either on a development perspective. So therefore, we are quite, well, whilst being specific, we are also quite broad-oriented. Our main focus is on a quite broad group of customers as well. Everyone who is active or either owns a, well, in this case, building with a facade which is encountering problems in returns in regard to either leakage, in regard to insulation. Then we show up in order to inspect the facade in order to get into the cause of the problem. So therefore, yeah, it's quite broad. We want to invest our time and knowledge in order to not only create a sustainable building, but a sustainable built environment as a whole. So therefore, that is what we dream of, that is what we do. And our mission in this case will never be, well, fully finished. Yeah. Our company is quite small, with only, well, currently, if it's up to date, with about 10 people, each one with different backgrounds, but also almost all of them focused on either it being construction or a technical background in general. We have 4 facade specialists, with which here is one of. He does the facade inspections. We have one quality consultant who is into a very deep level on norm management in regard to construction, in regard to glass, in regard to really deep into material knowledge. We have one sustainability consultant, which in this case I guess is me. We have one installation specialist in the broadest sense of the word, who is very well involved, not just in our company, but in multiple companies for that matter, in order to provide an extra stimulus to the cooperation in general. We have one engineer who does the, in this case, the drawings of all the, well, in this case, all the facade elements which we pre-engineer, which we test in this case. And we have one back office employee who is, well, currently here with us. Say hello, Gerard.
In the back.
This is actually one of the tests which we did on site, and the way the test works and what we hope to accomplish it. Tufan will go into way deeper than I can actually, well, currently manage. The Geveladvies is trying to give practical advice which the consumer can really help in order to answer that question which they came to us in the first place. We are trying to reach, again, that part of sustainable development, so the short-term solution is not always the solution which you want to implement if you truly want to establish that the sustainable environment, and not just of a building, but an area or the company as a whole. Like I mentioned earlier, we have a multitude of expertises. One of them is a destructive inspection, in which we actually take parts out of the facade in order to analyze them, to truly get into the core of the problem about either why a problem existed, why a leakage has begun, or in this case, why, well, maybe why the facade might be falling apart. Is there a structural problem which we can solve in order to lengthen the lifespan of, in this case, the facade? We do facade engineering, pre-engineering as well. We, well, in this case, we do calculations in regard to structural developments, in regard to insulation, in order to make sure that the whole of the building complies to rule and laws and regulations. We also do a different type of testing in regard to facades. This can be, again, structural tests. This can be related to wind and air, wind load, air permeability, and the water test in general. in order to make sure that there is no leakage in the facades which are delivered on site. We consult, in this case, other production companies of facade elements in regard to fire safety and burglary-proof facade elements, which are becoming more and more standardized as well time continues. Also for the safety of the user of the building in general. And like I mentioned earlier, we're doing facade inspections in order to well, either inspect the facade for a certain prestation, prestation in regard to energy, in regard to user comfort, in regard to doing that the facade has promised to do. And of course, much more. And here's an example of the destructive inspection which I just mentioned. During this project, we actually ran into a facade which we could not, well, in this case, uncover directly. So therefore, we actually removed a part of the panel in order to get into the heart of the problem, which is shown here, due to the water which was actually taken into the facade due to external circumstances. The back part of the panel started to corrode, and therefore water actually came into the facade itself, which actually proved to be very, well, nasty. We also have, in this case, regular inspections. In this case, it was a plastic frame of a here in Eindhoven. Did some inspections in regard to, if the bricks are still, stable enough into the facade, if the facade elements themselves are in the right place, if not showing any leaks, or therefore maybe the windows are showing leaks. So these are all part of regular inspections in order to, well, yeah, I guess in this case, stimulate, well, constructional environment. And please, if you have any questions, just feel free to break in. So,
yeah, you can just finish it.
All right.
And the project facts.
Okay. Yeah. One of the projects which we would like to go into more deeply this afternoon is actually the project, the Zalmhaventoren. Is the Zalmhaventoren a familiar project for you lot? All right, I see people nodding in the back. That's very good. Well, the Zalmhaventoren is quite a unique project here in the Netherlands. It's currently the highest tower in the Netherlands, Belgium, and Luxembourg, standing at a staggering 15 meters high at the highest point. It's located in Rotterdam, near the Maas, and it's supposed to be finished either this month or next month, depending on, well, I guess the speed in which we can make sure that all the elements which have been installed are actually, well, good enough. The facade is delivered by Rollerkader. A curtain wall has been applied on the ground floor, all stuck windows from the 6th floor up all the way up until the 52nd floor. Unitized system has been applied, and actually we have done some tests up to 750 Pascal in order to make sure that in our test lab to make sure that the facade elements are actually, well, in this case, not being penetrated too much by air, or in this case, not at all by water.
Take it over?
Yeah. Okay.
Let's try this. I'm not sure. Can you hear me better than the echo I just gave in the beginning? A little bit about how we started our involvement in this project. We started in 2009, or 2018, my excuse, with pre-engineering, which is like the design. Usually, like what happens is architect is making drawings of the facade. He wants to have this certain kind of design, and actually a facade manufacturer, and like the design process is actually happened afterwards. Like, can we actually make it? So that's what we do at the start of a project, where we like make the profiles. You can see the profiles in front of us, which are the final products. You can afterwards just come forwards and have a look at it. And I will tell you later a bit more about it. Then after the design part, we go for a verification of the project requirements. So like sound acoustics, thermal requirements, winter water testing, like my colleague just told you about, and structural, of course, because it's the highest tower in Rotterdam. After doing the verifying part, we go to project engineering, so really design the elements for the facade. How can we make it so that it will be high quality and can be maintained for a longer amount of time? And yeah, actually last year they were manufacturing those kind of windows in the factory and delivered them to the sites. And what we normally do then is we do quality checks in the factory, as well on the building site, which I show you some pictures later on. And yeah, that's what we do till the end. So what was our role at this project for Zalmhaventoren? I will tell you a little bit more about the logistics of the contractor, which is doing the main part of the logistics, but we also have like a role to play, because you can see soon in the video how fast actually it had to be built for 52 floors. I'm going too fast. Also, we did some testing, which is 750 Pascal. It's a classification test. So it's not really related to the wind loads happening on the facade, but if you can compare it a little bit, it's around a big storm, which you're testing these windows on. Furthermore, we did some checks on the structural calculations, which our constructor did. Yeah, and a little bit more like thermal requirements, quality control, fire safety requirements, and sound acoustics, which I will go further on in the slides. First, a little bit about our pre-engineering. As you can see, left is the concept drawing of an architect. He made from like the, how do you call it, the product, like you have like someone who designs the profiles, you have someone who manufactures the profiles and assemble them on site. So you have two parties, and the first one, like the concept drawing, is from an architect, which is done together with a system supplier, and on the right you see the final design. And I'm not sure if you can notice two kind of like changes in from concept to final design. I will explain them both. So first, you see in the front, the gap in front of the window is made bigger on the final design, because a window is never 100% watertight. So you also have to have some water drainage to let the water go out. And but if you make the gap too small, the water doesn't go as fast as you want to be, so you can get leakage inwards. And the second part is because they didn't do the whole detail, as you see in the final design, to make an airtight inside. And so we added an extra flap on the inside to be able to create this airtightness on the inside. A little bit about the logistic on the building site. And this is a video from BAM, is the constructor. I will just let it play. As you can see, the blue thing in the on top on the left is the biggest tower, which is a hoisting shed. It's like a small factory on top of the building, which every time a floor goes up, it's going with it till the top floor. And they actually had to make each floor in just under 2 weeks, which is really fast. So you had to do everything like pouring concrete till putting the facade on. And at the end, what my colleague also said about the unitized systems, which are on the top, actually it was too high to do that. So they do a reverse building. So they actually put the facade going from down outwards and just pushing it up, as you can see in the video. So actually something is sticking out of this building, out of the hosting shed. How to realize like the 14 days in per floor is they need to prefab everything on outside of the building site and just transport it to there. These elements are made in Veldhoven, so it's actually close by here. So logistic is quite a long distance to go from here to Rotterdam. So they also had like a special schedule. You had to call like the building site before you can actually enter it. And the schedule was really tight. Every hour was planned already in advance. So just before I show you something outside of the building site, and this is actually at the building site in the hoisting shed. So on top, the blue frame you saw in the video is actually here. You see it inside, where you see like element is like carried to the top, and of course in the beginning when you are like on the 24, it's like you can do it in a half hour. But when you're at 52, they still were like lifting those elements up to the top, which takes like 2 hours before it's all the way up. And also they had to look at the weather conditions, because if it's like really windy outside, like an element can just move like 2-3 meters, and you don't want to like have the elements hitting the facade which you just built. Else you have to like come back to fix it. So that's something a little bit about the logistics and building. We also have done some testing in the factory as well in the on site, because yeah, you need to know if you deliver the elements, it should be good. They should be working as they should be, and they should be proven. Also, like nowadays, you need to be have a CE for fire resistance for windows and for windows and doors. So it's really important to know what you do and what you make. So this is a little bit about the test we did at the testing center. It's really boring because it's just watching rain for 30 minutes, and most of the time you want to have it like leak somewhere so you can actually solve the problem what's happened. But most of the time, if the design is good and it's properly manufactured, then you actually stare for 30 to 40 minutes to a window with just rain drops going down, and then you can just write a report, everything is okay. Furthermore, we did also some wind load testing because it's a really high building. I'm not sure how many of you guys know about wind tunnel effects, because at the lower part you have a lot of different kind of high-rise in Rotterdam, which speed up winds and slow down winds. But how higher you come, there's actually nothing to stop it. So everything that's coming is also hitting the facade. That's why we needed to test it. This is quite an interesting video. Here we tested it on wind load with plus 2,250 Pascal and minus 2,250 Pascal. And you can see like the mullion moving like a few centimeters in and outwards. And if you, this is a little bit like a small tornado. If you actually standing inside there, you can see it's like moving inwards. Here you see like where the pressure is going, and you see like it's bending also like outside the testing element. And you see here also like a high pitch noise, which is like the sound of the air blowing to a small gap. Furthermore, we, as I said, we did some testing in the factory, but we also need to do it on site, because in the factory we do it like perfectly on laboratory circumstances. But there's also when you need to do it on site, because on site you never get the exact conditions you want to have, which is, but you still have to make sure it reaches the requirements as in the contract. So here we tested like a moving door, which is really critical in a facade. And also things like this happen. This is, if you look upside in a window, we removed the glass gasket, that you see like raindrops coming inside, falling downwards. That's not supposed to happen, just to be, so you know. Furthermore, we did some structural calculation. You can see like on the right, our constructor did some, he put the values inside on the building where certain kind of pressure points are hit the building. And if you see, it's like minus 3,447, which is even higher than we tested in the wind load test chamber. I think this is really a big storm, but luckily it's mostly it's like 5 seconds and then it's gone. So normally it doesn't have such a big impact as like we're testing in a laboratory, because then we just keep the pressure on till it's it fills. And also you needed to like make sure like the fittings and like the bolts and how you put it in the facade should be strong enough to resist like these kind of wind loads. And here you how we came to these like pressure points is like from a wind tunnel test, which is like a big tunnel where wind is blown through the tunnel, and see what kind of pressure is hitting the facade. And then they can recalculate it and put it like in a calculation sheet, so you can use it for to make sure you have enough structural parts in your element. And this plate where the building stands on can also like rotate, which then you can like measure on every side of the building what kind of pressure point it is. And this is done by Peut in, I'm not sure where they are located, but it's Peut. I think it's also on the CHEOPS website. Furthermore, to finish off the structural calculation, they the windows, which are like placed between the 6th floor and the 52nd floor, has to be able to open it, because in the Netherlands, you have like a building regulation about purge ventilation, which is you need to ventilate a room with, in a certain amount of time, a certain amount of air. But to do that, you don't want to have the users or the people who are living in there are opening the window completely, because then they can just jump up from the 50th floor to the, downwards. And that's not something I want to be like responsible for. So yeah, what did we do? We made actually some brackets. So you can like pull the window open, but what happens if you pull the window open, it will hit the bracket. So it's never go more open than 10 centimeter, which doesn't allow you to like pass through it, so you can jump. And here you see you can also use it for other stuff like hanging your clothes on it. Furthermore, some more testing. I hope you're not tired about testing already. This is about sound testing. We did it at CHEOPS. I'm not sure if you heard about them. They are like the system supplier, which delivers the profiles of the Zalmhaventoren. And they also have like a big testing center, even bigger than us. They are located in Germany, and they have like a special test laboratory for sound only. And what they do is, I can show a little bit or tell you a little bit about how they measure it. You actually have two rooms, where in one room they produce a lot of different kind of noises, which is like received in the other room. And here you can see like the blue box, which is the sound, like a sound box, where you have it at home, but then even better, and making really a lot of noise. You don't want to stand in the same room as when it's on. And in the room behind the glass, where you can look through, there's like a receiver which see how much sound is coming through the window. And what we did for the Zalmhaventoren is actually only flanking. You have two kind of sound. You can have transmission, which is through a facade, and you have flanking, which is through the window outside and going inside again. And this is how we tested, because we didn't really have a window or at such a low point that they need to be like transmission. So from traffic from outside going inside, but you are at that height, you don't want to hear your neighbor do something. So that's why we need to test it. And here you see how we did build such a thing. This is a unitized system from scratch, one-on-one mock-up in CHEOPS. And I think we took like a week to just build this up, and then we also had to disassemble it. That's a bit about the testing of Zalmhaventoren. Just a peek from upwards. So this is around, I think, 50 floor, looking downwards. So it's a really proud feeling if you're standing up top after they are finished building and just looking downwards what you accomplished. Furthermore, you of course don't need to have fear of heights, because it's quite high. Now I leave Saket tell you a little bit more about the devices we use in inspections and all this kind of stuff.
Well, it's not just all projects and pre-engineering and of course testing. It's also the daily routines which we have to go through in order to, again, fund Geveladvies in order to prepare these projects. So we have a lot of different appliances which we use during our facade inspections, and we've brought 3 of them along with us. like my colleague Sufan said, feel free to come down and check it out if you want to. One of the things which we actually use during our inspections is the thermal camera in order to create a, well, in this case, create a thermal vision of the facade to uncover either insulation leaks or heat leaks, just to make sure that the facade is operating as well as it should be. This should always be done on a cloudy day in order to have as little interference as possible and to gather as much clean data in order to, well, in this case, lighten up the facade, read through, and actually maybe upgrade it if the results are really, really poor, which is actually one of the things that can actually happen. We also use a drone in order to map more surface of the facade. The drone actually maps, well, in this case, the status of different parts of the facade in order to really take into account different environmental roles, which actually, of different environmental aspects, which actually play a role in the degradation of the facade. One of the things that we are actually working on is creating a database based on different variables in order to, well, construe the concept of predictive maintenance in order to actually the wind surface area, the area of the facade, the material it's made of, in order to determine how far it is into its lifespan. And we actually want to, well, create an algorithm in order to, in this case, predict that predictive maintenance and look after the facade as long as possible. The drone actually is used a little bit less nowadays because to increased laws and regulations, we're not allowed to fly everywhere we wanted to. We're not allowed to fly near highways, near airports. We need a license in order to fly. Well, in this case, permanently, and we need another. Well, we need a license from the municipality to be allowed to fly. So therefore, it's getting more and more difficult. Then again, sometimes the most difficult things can be the most rewarding. We also use an Unster, which actually measures the power applied to this hook. This is quite necessary because certain, in this case, panic doors actually only allow 10 kilograms of force to be used in order to either open or close it in order to be user-friendly. So if the force is more than 10 kilograms, it shouldn't be approved, and therefore it should be removed to become, well, more user-friendly. And also we can use it for our luggage as well if one of the inspectors decides to go on holiday. Are there any questions thus far? Yes?
I was wondering if the challenge in the case of the Zalmhaventoren, because it has a prefabricated façade, does this give you extra challenges or does this make it easier for you to design and test the façade?
Do you want it? Or do
Dus inhoudelijk.
I think it's two parts. First, prefabrication is like you have to make everything exact what you want, but on site it's always there are always faults in it, and you also always have to improvise. So I think prefabrication leads to a cleaner building environment, but you still need to do improvements, do changes on site because you have tolerances and it's not laboratory circumstances. Like every centimeter is exact centimeter, but you always have certain. You need to play with the space you have. I hope I answered your question a little bit. Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Are there any further questions? Well, I hope that that explains it. Anyway, that also should mean that, well, in this case, you should be able to start in the field no problem. We do have a small promo video of, well, in this case, Geveladvies, in order to, well, visualize a couple of our, well, yeah, our activities. The man in the video with the black hair is the head of the Geveladvies department. It is in Dutch, our apologies for it, but he's actually explaining what he does on a day-to-day basis, what he does on and why he does it. So there, as you can see, he's really operational in different environments, like the report writing, which Tufan just spoke about, really the facade inspections on site, sometimes also getting to know customers, getting to know the question behind the question in order to truly, well, in this case, answer the customer's demand. This is our team at Geveladvies. Yeah. And of course, if you, we're always looking for new people in order to increase the strength of our team in general. We also do a lot of internships. One of the former interns is actually standing behind you with the purple blouse on. He actually graduated last September, and he's been working for us ever since, along together with his master. We also are looking for facade advisors. We're also looking for engineers in general. So therefore, if you are looking for a challenge in a quickly, in this case, developing company, just let us know and let's get in touch. And of course, hereby also the mail, which you can respond to, or just personal, if that would be, well, more applicable. Well, thank you for having us here. I'm glad we could give this presentation for you, and we hope that you've learned something. Again, if you have any questions left, just let us know. Well, in this case, thank you for your attention.
Yeah, so I want to